viewers and subscribers. Welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, it's all about the Champions League round of 16. Big games, big matches, big implications. Now, joining me this evening to preview these matches coming up, we have returned to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Christoph, we're taking a slight segue across to the Champions League. EPL action was in pause last week and it was all about the FA Cup. But now, this midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Christoph, we have four big matches on Tuesday and another four massive games coming up on Wednesday. And this is the first leg of the round of 16. Now, we're pretty much going to go through all these matches and we're going to talk some EPL. We're going to make some predictions as it relates to the winners of this first leg. Not necessarily the overall winner, but just this first leg in particular. And we're going to kick things off over there in Turkey, Christoph. It is the mighty Galatasaray versus the English champions currently, Liverpool. Talk to us about that game. How are you seeing this first leg? Not necessarily the overall tie, but this first leg over there in Istanbul.
Um, on paper, it is a game that Liverpool should be winning relatively easily, but we've seen where
Relatively.
Liverpool relatively easy, but
Wow.
we've seen where Liverpool has struggled a lot so far this season. Most of the struggles have been against English opposition. Like I've said that English teams are finding it difficult playing other English teams because of the low blocks that everybody is playing. But in Europe, everybody plays somewhat more expansive football, and the English teams are able to attack more freely and not having to worry about how they're going to break down a low block. In theory, on paper, this should be a relatively easy game for Liverpool. Liverpool should be winning this match 2-0. But
I'm
given Liverpool's woes so far this season, I am going to go with Galatasaray to win 2-1 at home.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not I was just about to say I'm not sure about that relatively easy phrase. I mean, you're using to be honest, because Liverpool in the English league isn't really, I mean, Liverpool is losing to Wolves, Christoph. We're talking about first 11 or best 11 that's currently available, losing to bottom of the league team Wolves. So,
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Losing to bottom of the league Wolves is not as bad as people think. I don't think Wolves would be bottom of the league in any of Europe's other leagues. Not
mm,
even one of them. I don't think Wolves would be bottom of the league.
okay, so you're giving some credit there. Well, I mean, definitely Turkey. I mean, I should say Galatasaray, and Turkey in particular is a fairly hostile environment. Liverpool do have some history over there, of course, that famous come from behind win over AC Milan in that Champions League final, down 3-0 at halftime, and coming back in that final to lift that title. So there is some history there for Liverpool, but in this modern day, round of 16, away from home, and I'm also hearing Alisson Christoph picked up an injury in training, so he may very well be out of this fixture as well. With all things being considered, I am leaning on your side as well. It could be a narrow defeat for Liverpool, so for me, I'm gonna go 1-0 to Galatasaray over Liverpool, Christopher. I think Galatasaray will move into the second leg with a one goal advantage over Liverpool heading back to Anfield. You know, all things considered, Liverpool isn't firing on all cylinder. They haven't looked the best of themselves on the slot. And as such, while possibly they may progress to the next round, I don't believe they will pick up a win in this first leg away from home fixture. So my call for this one, Christoph, Galatasaray to come away 1-0 winners. Then we move. We move to Newcastle. Newcastle Barcelona, Christoph. Newcastle versus Barcelona. Two teams which met earlier in the competition. Talk to us about that game. How do you think that one will shake out? Can Newcastle perform similar but get a different result in this one?
Um, can they perform similar? Yeah, I think they can. They've had sufficient rest to come into this game, and they will definitely be trying to get a win out of this first leg and not just hold Barcelona at bay. We've seen where Newcastle has done really, really well in the Champions League so far. Um, I mean, obviously we know on the weekend they're going to crash out, drop points on the weekend, but um,
Well, I
I
mean,
think.
this one is coming up on Tuesday, so it should give them sufficient recovery time, an
I,
extra day.
I think we'll see a really, really good performance from them in this game. Whether or not they win, I'm not sure. I do think they were unlucky to lose against Barcelona in the league stage of the Champions League. They played really, really well against Barcelona, if not for two uh brilliant goals from Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, I mean, I concur. I definitely concur. I thought that performance versus Barcelona has been one of Newcastle's best performances this season. They were really at it, Christoph. They pressed high and they pressed with everything they got, and they really did not allow Barcelona to play, in all honesty. And if they can produce a similar display, I feel they may very well get something from this game. So for me, Christoph, I'm gonna go against the Barcelona hype. I am gonna go with a Newcastle win, 2-1. What says you?
I think I think Newcastle can get on the score sheet. Whether or not they win, I'm not so sure. It's I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When wait, this yeah, Newcastle can win this game. It is playing away from the Camp Nou. Barcelona historically has done rather poorly, even against teams that they were supposed to beat away from home. So I'm going to go with Newcastle to win 2-1.
Oh
I
wow.
don't think they're going to win, but I'm going to go with Newcastle to win 2-1.
So you're
Right?
following your guts then. You're going with your footballing guts.
It's
As
not just
opposed to the statistics or the numbers.
it's not just footballing goods. It's just like Barcelona last 10, 15 years, round of 16, or not just round of 16, the knockout phase, they have struggled away from home in getting those results. So teams that you would have expected them to swept aside to be swept aside, they've drawn or lost those away games and then potentially get the win at the Camp Nou the following week. Usually if the first leg was being played at the Camp Nou, I would have said, Barcelona is probably going to drop out because
Wow.
historically,
Wow.
last 10 years, almost every time they've played the second leg away, they have dropped out.
I see interesting statistic there coming from Christoph. So you're saying Newcastle then, Christoph.
Newcastle
2-1
can
win in this first
can
leg.
take this first leg, but the tie will definitely go to Barcelona because the second leg is at the Camp Nou.
Mm, I see, I see. All right. We'll definitely have to keep a close eye on that one. That one coming up on Tuesday. We also have another big Tuesday fixture, Christoph. Atalanta versus Bayern Munich. So the last standing Italian team in the competition, Atalanta, they play host to Bayern Munich. I'll take this one first, Christoph. To me, it has to be a Bayern Munich win. I just think the juggernauts of Germany are playing too well and they have the better quality players as well. Atalanta barely managed to scrape through into this round, and I just think Bayern Munich will be too powerful for this Atalanta team. It's not the same Atalanta team which uh, made a lot of noise in I think the maybe two,
Europa
3 years
League.
ago, right in the Europa League. Uh, I think it's a different Atalanta team. And of course, Bayern Munich themselves, I believe, have strengthened over the period as well. They are a potential finalist in this year's edition of the Champions League, Christoph. It would surprise me if they did not at least make it through to a semi-final. So I think they are potentially one of the winners. I think everything is there for company at this moment. He has the firepower up front in the likes of Keane. The signing of Diaz has really elevated this team. Midfield, possibly a little suspect, but still competitive. And of course, defensively, again, still a little suspect, but they've been keeping a few clean sheets. And of course, as I said, the attack is really leading the way for this team. So it's hard to see anything other than a Bayern Munich win in this one. So for me, I'm gonna go 2-0 to Bayern Munich, Christoph. 2-0 is my call away from home over Atalanta. What says you?
I would expect a similar scoreline. The Italian teams have not done great in this year's Champions League. Um, the Italian league was known for its defensive nature, defensive quality that seems to have gone away in a manner of speaking. They don't look as strong defensively. I expect Bayern to somewhat blow them away, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Bayern will score and score multiple times. So yeah, there's not much to say. I mean, outside of that, it would be a huge upset if Atalanta did in fact get a win over this Bayern Munich team. But I just think Bayern Munich has too much firepower, too much quality, too well coached, on paper and also in terms of how you're seeing the teams actually playing on the field as well. So yeah, I am just calling it straight down the middle. It should be a fairly or a relatively easy Bayern Munich win to go back to Germany for the second leg. And then the other game we have for Tuesday, Christoph, is Spurs versus Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid at home, Spurs will be on the road. How are you seeing this one shaking out? Relegation threatens Spurs, might I add.
Ah,
So before you even answer that question, Christoph, if you were the coach, what would you be doing? Would you be prioritizing this Champions League fixture? Or do you say, all right, I'm gonna rotate my squad, rest my best players for the league game, and play my rotated team versus Atletico Madrid in the Champions League? Which is more important, advancing in the Champions League or surviving relegation?
Surviving relegation is probably more important for Spurs because, quite frankly, they're not going to win it. Right? So yeah, there's more prize money as you move up, right? But they're not going to win it. And if they get relegated in the Premier League, then that is a bigger hit to the revenue than the Champions League. So
Definitely.
their priority should be not being relegated, but if the fans are really I think the fans would want them to go for the Champions League, I think. But if they get relegated, it is potentially a massive hit to Spurs revenue wise. They're going to lose players. Um, Again, a big hit to the revenue, right? No EPL football, no Champions League for a couple of years. So
So for
I
sure, you're saying, well, I mean, their next EPL fixture is versus Liverpool. So
I
another
would
big team there they have to factor in.
um
It seems as if you're caught between a rock and a hard place there, Christoph. You can't
yeah.
turn left, you can't turn
It,
right. Where do you
it,
go? Go down the middle?
it, all right. Their only chance of silverware this season is going to be the Champions League.
For
The
sure,
prob the
definitely.
probability of winning the Champions League is
It's highly
extremely
unlikely.
is
It's
highly
like the
unlikely.
high, it's like
So
winning the lotto at
do
this
do
point.
you do you go all in and try and win the
I
Champions League?
say, my view, rest your best players to face Liverpool on the weekend and try to get something from that Liverpool game. So put all your eggs in that Liverpool game basket. To me, it doesn't matter what the result is in this first leg. Rotate your squad and save your better players to try and get something from that Liverpool game. Because at this point in time, every point counts. Every point counts. They sit 1 point above the relegation zone, Christoph. And if they were not to get anything from this game on the weekend versus Liverpool, they could pretty much end the weekend in the relegation zone. And as I said previously, it will become a very big psychological blow when you wake up this next morning and you see that Spurs team in the red. So I say rest your better players for Liverpool and rotate your squad versus this Atletico Madrid team, which again, there's no guarantee. Even if you play your best players, you'll get a result versus Atletico. In fact, for me, it has to be an Atletico win. Spurs is playing no semblance of football at the moment, Christoph.
They're
So this
playing
should
no
be
semblance of football in the EPL, but they've done better in the Champions League.
well,
So
that is true. That is true. That is true. It's almost like a team that is night and day, hot and cold, cold, totally cold, ice cold, Arctic in the EPL, Christoph, and Venus-like in the Champions League. But for this game, Christoph, we're talking Champions League. What is your call? What is your call for this game?
did
What
you
do you
say
say?
Venus like?
Venus-like, close to the sun, hot.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're playing the first leg away from home meant that Spurs finished in the top eight of the teams. So they got the draw in favor of playing the second leg at home. So uh, they did well to make it to this level, but this is Spurs. What's the call for you?
I think Atletico Madrid will win 2-0.
So easy 2-0 win for Atletico then.
I think so, yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, I concur with that call. I don't see Spurs winning or getting anything from this game. I just don't think they're playing any good football. They are devoid of confidence at the moment as well. So, but we move, Christoph. We move to the games on Wednesday. Wednesday fixtures. And the first on the agenda we have. Yeah.
Manchester
Yeah,
City versus Real Madrid.
no, I was actually going to say two former invincible teams, Leverkusen, the Invincibles of Germany, formerly, and of course the Invincibles of England, formerly, Arsenal. I mean, this should be an easy call. What says you in relation to this game, Leverkusen at home versus Arsenal in this first leg?
Um, on paper, Arsenal should be winning this one. Leverkusen is not playing well at all so far this season. Obviously, they've made it this far in the league, but the German teams, aside from Bayern Munich, have been poor throughout the Champions League so far this season. I think Leverkusen played a playoff game to get here. So
Yes.
Arsenal as the winners of the group stage should feel confident coming into this game. And I think they should try and potentially win this game in the first leg and then, potentially go for a shutout in the
Yeah, but
second
I
leg
mean,
because they do have to think about the Carling Cup final in a couple weeks' time.
Oh, so you're saying win big. You mean end the
Win
tie from the first
end
leg then.
end the tie in the first leg. End it, kill off
So you're
Leverkusen in the
looking at
first leg.
least maybe a 3 goal margin then.
3-4 goal. Last
Three,
season
four
round
goal.
last season round of 16, I think they beat PSV. What was it, 6 or 7-0 in the first leg,
So
and then
you're looking
kind
for a similar result in this one,
that would be best for them. Kill off the tie completely first leg. That way
right?
you can rest your players second leg in anticipation of that Man City Carling Cup final.
That is definitely some sound advice there, Christoph, for sure. Sound advice. And I mean, Arsenal do have the weapons to do the killing, one could say. So Leverkusen has to look out. But Christoph, are you not seeing any upsets in this first leg? Are you just calling favorites as they appear on paper? No upsets in the making? Or we haven't reached the upsetters as yet?
Uh,
So, I mean, this is a fairly easy call, I would say, for anyone who follows football. Leverkusen versus Arsenal. I mean, in fact, yeah, of all the legs, I would say probably this is the most one-sided leg of the
potential
round of 16
po-
matches at
po-
the
pot-
moment.
potential upsets are Galatasaray and Liverpool. You would expect Liverpool to go through. I think Galatasaray has
Oh,
a
so we
strong,
would
a
call that an
strong
upset because probably Liverpool enter that game as favorites.
as favorites. Galatasaray has a strong chance to go through, in my opinion. Even Atletico versus Tottenham, I think Atletico should be winning given the form of Tottenham so
Right?
far this season. So, but I still think Tottenham
But
potentially
wouldn't
have a chance to.
Atletico go into that game the favorites?
Yes,
Yeah. So I
Atletico
wouldn't
go
call
in
that
the
an
favorites.
upset if
No,
Atletico make it through.
the upset is if Tottenham go through.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Especially how Tottenham is playing currently. Yeah, definitely. That would be a major upset.
Yeah, I don't think Newcastle will go through, so I'm not sure there's an upset there. The only way Newcastle go through is if they win, maybe 2-0 that first leg,
Well,
win
I mean,
2-0
I'm not even looking so far ahead, to be honest, in terms of who makes it through the round. I'm just thinking about any upsets in
in
this
on the day.
actual first leg.
Okay,
Yeah, on
well,
the day for sure. Not necessarily
Ta
overall, but on the
Tottenham
day.
Tottenham could upset Atletico and Galatasaray could upset Liverpool.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. I'm not talking about what could happen, Christoph. That could always happen for sure. But I'm
right.
talking about from your point of view. I'm noticing that most of, if not all of your calls are for technically the favorite on paper. I'm not seeing any calls against the grain per se, or we haven't gotten to that game as yet because the next game on the agenda would be PSG versus Chelsea.
Um,
PSG versus Chelsea. This is the defending Champions League champions versus the World Club champions. Ironically, these two teams met in the finals as well, Christoph, and it was Chelsea who came out the victors. So there may be some bad blood in this one. This may very well be one of the more competitive legs in terms of how PSG is currently playing and also how Chelsea is playing, and of course the history between these two teams in recent times. So, what's your call for this one? Who enters this game the favorites to start? Who
well,
would be your
obviously
favorite going into this one?
PSG are going to be entering this game heavy favorites. Chelsea
Mm.
is, if I recall, not even in the top four in England, and the form the form has not necessarily been spotty, but the play to me has not been convincing. I
Mm.
think under Rossignol, they've only lost what, one the league
Who?
match, two.
Right.
They've only
Well,
lost
one
two
league man.
league.
I think Arteta is the only manager that has beaten Rossignol since he started his employment. All other games have either been wins or draw.
Right.
And I
So
believe he lost in the league versus Rossignol, and he lost
no,
very early. I think maybe it's either his first or second game.
his
In
first is I don't know if it was his
Yeah, I
first.
think
No,
it was
he
second game. It was his second game.
the
I believe
second
they
game they
had
played
played
Arsenal in
a
the
League
Carling
Cup
Cup
game. Right.
in the
Yes.
semi-final,
Yes.
and they
That
lost both legs, and then
correct.
lost in the EPL.
No, I don't think he was in charge for the first leg, was he?
No, yes, he was in charge for the first leg
Oh,
and
he
the
was in
and
charge
the
for the
second
first
leg.
leg. Okay, got you. Right. So those have been. So only one manager has really beaten Rossignol since he has taken over at Chelsea, Christoph. So I mean, when you look at it from that point of view, that's a commendable start to a managerial tenure. I mean, I don't think the Chelsea fans could ask for anything better. He has definitely steadied the ship, and Chelsea are probably looking upwards.
I don't think the ship was unsteady when he joined.
Mm, I
I
see. I
think.
see.
It, speaking of which, coming into this match, had it still been Maresca in charge, I would have said Chelsea are favorites coming into this match, in
Oh,
my
really?
opinion.
So you give such great honor to Maresca that he can
No,
get the better over Enrique again?
I think he was playing more pragmatic in certain fixtures.
Mm,
Ver and certain games he would be changing his style of play in order to get the result. We saw that again in the first leg when Maresca was still in charge of Chelsea, Arsenal versus Chelsea at the Bernabeu, where Chelsea played far more aggressively than they had played all season in that game, and it
oh,
ended
did
up in
you
a
say
draw.
Arsenal versus Chelsea at the Bernabeu?
Not mistake
Oh,
at
the
Stamford
bridge.
Bridge
Oh,
at
okay.
Stamford Bridge
Okay.
in the league in the
Okay.
league when
Okay.
Mariska
Okay.
was still in charge.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. 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 So you're saying you're not seeing the same level of pragmatism from Rossini?
Right. I'm not seeing that pragmatism. I mean, you could say that he was attempting to be pragmatic in the game where Arsenal and the second leg of the Carling Cup, only
Right.
for it to backfire spectacularly, I
Mm,
think. Um, I don't know, the media outlets on that day were giving Mariska a lot of praise for the approach, which
you mean
honestly,
Rossini?
Rossinia, a lot
Mm,
of praise for the approach, but I could not see it. It was a big head scratcher for me. I'm not sure what was happening there.
right, right, right. But getting back to this game though, Christoph versus PSG in
PSG,
Paris.
PSG,
PSG is the call.
PSG.
What's the score line?
Um, let's go with 3-1, PSG.
3-1. Wow. 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 That's a big call there. I think it might be a little closer. I would still lean towards PSG but I think it may be 2-1. I think it might be a 2-1 win for PSG over there in France in the first leg, of course. And then, of course, the second leg will be played over there at Stamford Bridge. I mean, many of these players would have been the same players who got the better of PSG over there in the Club World Cup in the summer, Christoph. So that should be fresh on the memory. So Chelsea probably wouldn't necessarily approach this game with any fear. uh, it would be PSG who will be looking to get the better of this Chelsea team, or should be entering this one with a greater level of motivation, so to speak. Again, especially in front of their home fans. So the venue may factor into the equation on this occasion. On previous occasion, it was at a neutral ground in the summer, the heat of summer in the United States, and it was Chelsea who won on the day, and I think they deserve the win at that time as well. So it will be interesting to see the tactics for this one with similar players available. I thought Maraska sprung a surprise on many, Christoph, when he played James in the midfield. So I'm not sure if Rosinha will take a page out of the Maraska book by probably possibly playing a James in that Chelsea midfield as well to give it a bit more bite, a bit more energy, a bit more fight. We know PSG plays what should I say, a controlled possession-based game under Enrique. I don't think they're playing the same way this season as they did last, and this is probably down to the absence of Dembele, Christoph. So this PSG team will be lacking in the firepower from Dembele, who has been out on a long-term injury, but I still think they have enough to get the better of Chelsea. So for me, my call also is for PSG to win, but not as big a margin as you. I'm gonna go with 2-1 in favor of PSG in the first leg. All right, so the next game on the agenda, Christoph, who do we have? We have Bodo Glimt versus Sporting, Christoph. Bodo Glimt has been, I would say, in my opinion, the surprise team of the Champions League thus far. A pleasant surprise, of course. A team which has gotten the better of Man City, taking a big scalp there. And they have progressed to this stage of the competition impressively, in my opinion. They play versus the team out of Portugal. How are you seeing this one, Christoph? Can the story continue for Bodo Glimt?
Can I continue? I think so. They have been, like I said, they're probably somewhat of dark horses coming into this game.
Dark horse. I wouldn't even say dark horse. I would just say they have surprised everyone with the quality of team football they play. I mean, they don't have any of these big household name, but they play as a complete team, Christoph. That I would say is the strength of this team. They often say you're as strong as your weakest link. And I think this is a well-drilled, well-oiled team which plays team football and not necessarily depend on individual brilliance of, so-called star players. But they come up against Sporting. They play at home as well, all the way over there in Norway. Could the long travel, Christoph, have any impact on the Sporting team?
The travel. You would think that a lot of the teams are used to the traveling. I think more so. I'm not sure if the weather has turned in Norway, and that could be a factor for Sporting leaving out of the warm weather in Portugal to go into the cold of Norway. I think that
Right?
could have a
As well
more of an effect.
as, if memory serves me correctly as well, I think Bodo plays on artificial turf, Christoph. So that could
Interesting. I was not
also
aware
be,
of that.
yeah, I'm bringing it to the fore. They play on artificial turf. I don't believe grass can survive these harsh winters over there in Norway. So it is artificial turf. I could be wrong. Viewers and subscribers, let me know in the comment section. But yeah, I do believe Bodo again plays on artificial turf. And one other surprising thing is that the Norwegian League is on a break now, Christoph, and has been on a break for the majority of this campaign by Bodo Glimt. So they are actually out of season and is still taking some very big scalps. So I see no reason why this fairy tale should end here, Christoph, and I think Bodo Glint will get the better of Sporting. So for me, I am gonna call Bodo to win this one. 3 goals to 1, Christoph is my call. Bodo to win, 3 goals to 1. What says you?
Do you think Bodo move on to the next
I
round?
think Bodo moves on to the next round. Yes, they have my vote for this fairy tale to carry on. Yep, definitely. I'm backing Bodo Glint to move on to the next round.
I expect them to or expect. I think they can win this first leg 2-0. They have a well-rested squad coming into this game,
Well, they're
and
not playing any football. Maybe too well rested.
they have I would think they would play friendlies to keep up
True, yeah.
fitness and sharpness, but they have a well-rested squad coming into that game, and that could potentially be a big factor for them.
And that could definitely play a huge role for sure. But I also worry that they are as not as competition sharp as other teams who are actively playing as well. So it's almost like a double-edged sword where you are rested, yes, but are you too rested, are you fit enough with, you know, the high intensity play of the Champions League? So there is a bit of concern for me there, but thus far they seem to be navigating themselves well. You know, taking big scalps such as that of Inter Milan. They got
Manchester
a win
City.
over Man City as well. And, so they have come up against quality teams and have gotten the better of them. So I see no reason if they play to that level. I see no reason why they should not, at least in this first leg, come away with a win. So for me, definitely, I'm backing them to get a win, and my call for that one is 3-1. What's your predicted scoreline?
2-0 to
2-0
Bodo.
is the call, Bodo
Right.
Glimt. And then the final game we have here on the agenda, Christoph, is probably did we save the best for last? Real Madrid versus Man City.
I'm
Is it
not sure
the
if it's the best for last. Madrid has been poor so far this season. For much of the season, Man City has not been at the level you would have expected for them. But this seems to be the Champions League's new favorite fixture because we seem to get
right?
it every single
Yeah,
season.
this one seemed to be a spectator fixture, Christoph. This one should grab the attention of the world footballing fans. Pep Guardiola going up against Real
Arbeloa.
Madrid. Arbeloa, taking over from Xabi Alonso, who
I
was
thought it would
surprisingly.
have, I think it would have been more interesting to see
And
Xabi Alonso.
funny enough as well, I believe these two managers, Xabi Alonso and Arbeloa, were teammates when they played at Liverpool, Christoph. So
And that
both
Real Madrid,
managers, right, both managers represented Liverpool and also represented Real Madrid. I don't know if that is coincidence. So you could say they are cut from the same cloth, so to speak. And if Xabi Alonso was the manager, it would have been another case of master versus apprentice, Christoph, because Xabi Alonso did play under Pep when he played over there at Bayern.
right.
So this makes for a fascinating game, in all honesty. Both teams not necessarily firing at their fullest potential. And of course, we know that Rudiger is the man who has probably kitted Haaland the most in recent time. He has had a torrid time versus Rudiger, Christoph, coming up against the physicality of the big, bad German. Can Rudiger perform at a similar level where he put the clamps on Haaland?
Can Rudiger perform at a similar level? Yeah, but we've seen where Pep Guardiola has realized now that Haaland can be man-marked out of games. So what he has done is he's asked Haaland to drop deep into the midfield. So the defenders know they either follow him or they
And
allow
leave
him
space in
space,
behind,
right?
right? Or
So
leave him space to collect,
to
possibly turn
collect the
and run at the
ball,
defense.
turn and run at the defense, and that is what I've seen.
What would be your decision though? If you were the opposition manager and you saw Pep utilizing this tactic, what would be your instruction to your defenders?
Zonally mark him. Tell the
Also, you're
defender
saying,
keep the defense intact, right? And then
okay,
have a player zonally mark him. When he comes up to the defense, then Rudiger, you man mark him. But when he drops deep to receive the ball, then you get your defensive midfielder to track him.
mm. I see, I see. So that would be your tactic then. So
Right.
would it be a case where you're playing a double pivot D mid system or just one in that defensive mid role?
Ah, I don't think Madrid have the squad depth to play a double pivot in
Why
terms
not?
of
I mean, you have Chouameni, Camavinga. I mean,
to
Valverde can
to
also play inside there.
to be honest, the person who I would stick to tracking Haaland would probably be Bellingham, but I
I
highly
think
doubt.
Bellingham is out injured. I think Bellingham
Oh,
is injured,
okay.
and I believe Mbappe might be this game may come too soon for Mbappe as well. He has also been deemed injured. I'm not sure if he will be fit for this fixture, but even if he's fit, I don't think he'll get a full 90 from him. I could be wrong, but the last injury report I saw, he was nursing an injury. So, as you said, the squad depth may be a factor in terms of replacing some of these, players from the starting 11, especially over there at Madrid. I don't believe Man City has any major injury concern. I believe Haaland had returned from his injury, so I don't think Man City has any fresh injury concerns. So uh, Man City should have the fitter team, Christoph. Real Madrid may have to find a couple replacement for injured players, Jude Bellingham, possibly a Mbappe. So that may factor into the equation as well. And of course, this one being played over there in Spain at the Bernabeu. So possibly a slight advantage in terms of the home crowd. Of course, Vinicius Jr. is one of those players who can definitely hurt this Man City team. So what's the call, Christoph? What is the call? We've set the table. What is the call
I think this first leg
for
to
this first
me
leg?
goes to Manchester City or ends in a draw. So
So
I'm
this
going
is
to
the
go
first one
with
that looks like a draw for you then.
right. So I'm going to go Man City will either win this 2-1 or this will end in a 2-2 draw. I'm
Mm,
leaning towards 2-2 draw.
wow. Okay, you're leaning towards a 2-2 draw. Wow. I am just gonna call it how I see it, Christoph, to be honest with you. I don't think this is the same Madrid team we've seen of yesteryear. This is not the same Madrid team that was under Ancelotti. Those days are long gone. I am seeing a stronger Man City team emerging. I think they are, you could say, rounding into form. That man Semenyo is on fire currently. Possibly, I would say at this point in time, if the season was to end now, I would give Semenya the best footballer of the season award, in all honesty. He has
Semenyo.
been, yeah, Semenyo, definitely. Not only for the work he has done at Man City, but before the move to Man City, the work he did at Bournemouth as well. He would get my vote for player of the season if the season was to end today. So with him in that Man City team, he just seemed not to be able to stop finding the back of the net. And I think he will I believe he might. This may very well be his Champions League debut. I'm not sure, but I don't think he has a goal in the Champions League yet. I think this may be the game where Semenyo actually gets his first Champions League goal. So that being said, Christoph, with the experience of Pep, with this Man City team, and with the injuries that Madrid is facing, I think Man City gets the better of Madrid in this first leg. For me, I am gonna call this one 2-1, Christoph, in favor of Man City. So I think Man City goes back to England with a one goal advantage. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll advance in the tie. To me, too early to call. But at halftime, at the end of this first leg, I think Pep takes a one goal advantage back to England.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
do like I said, I do think it will end in a draw, but Man City, if somebody's going to win this leg, it's going to be Man City. I don't think it's going to be Madrid.
Definitely, but definitely some very, very interesting games coming up, and this first leg is a much watch. But any quick final thoughts, Christoph, as it relates to these eight fixtures? We have four on Tuesday, four on Wednesday, and if you're watching, you could see that early game, and you could also see another one where I believe three will be playing at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So you could, I mean, if you're simulcasting, you can see all three games at once. But as a purist, you can watch two full games, the early kickoff and also the one of the three from the other kickoff on both days. So yeah, any final thoughts?
Um, Looking forward to watching some high quality Champions League football. Look for Real Madrid to get a penalty. We'll see if
Mm,
the trend continues. They've gotten about, 10 or 12 penalties so far in the Champions League. So, let's continue and see.
for sure, when
Re-
your team is playing in the Champions League, Christoph, it must be nice, you know. Many a team are looking and they're not there, but as some colleagues of mine would say, it must be nice when your team has made it this far and you can sit back, relax, and as you say, watch some quality Champions League football. And if you can, make it to a stadium near you as well, why not? You know, but yeah, some very high class footballing matches coming up, and hopefully the quality of the football will tell its own story. But that's all the time we have, viewers and subscribers. Christoph, thank you again for coming on board, sharing your thoughts and your opinions. This time, not on EPL football, but on the European exploits of this team. And I must add as well, Christoph, all the English teams are still in the competition at this moment. So that's another interesting statistics, which possibly point to the strength of the English league this year, Christoph. So all English teams are
It
still
it
in with
it,
a chance.
it's not just this year. England is the best league. It's not the top five leagues. It's not the top
Well,
five
it,
leagues.
it,
It's
it might be a discussion for another time, Christoph, but we don't have the time. But that could be a discussion we look at which league is the best league in the world and the reasons for saying
England.
such. But viewers, subscribers, thank you again for coming on board and listening, taking time to leave your comment in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed as yet, viewers, hit that subscription bell. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.